Let's start with the importance of the establishment of the forum and really its purpose in the development in key sectors within the BRICS countries.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity. The forum was conceived by the BRICS leaders at the meeting in India, when India was chair of BRICS in 2013. The idea was that you needed to bring together academics and think tanks of BRICS countries in order to have a reservoir of ideas generated by what are essentially researchers and knowledge leaders in our countries. So the idea of the forum is to draw together academics to deliberate on the various thematic areas that are relevant to the BRICS agenda and to assist the leadership, our governments, with advice on policy, with advice on modeling economic interventions, or improved quality healthcare. So the range of thematic areas that fall within the BRICS domain should benefit from academics from the 5 BRICS countries coming together, debating these issues, and then producing a report that is taken to the summit of BRICS leaders and is considered and adopted there.
Now, during your address, Minister, which you said was not a keynote address, you highlighted that there is not enough interaction between government stakeholders and those from academia. Why do you think that is, and really what needs to be done to get that integration going?
Well, we've always found that there's this tenuous relationship between intellectuals and governments, because politicians believe they can generate ideas and policy without basing themselves necessarily on evidence. And I think increasingly it has become clear that actually we need to establish some form of integration, because there's a great deal of research out there, a lot of ideas are being produced, and they're based on very careful analysis of society. And so we need to appropriate those ideas and utilize them as we generate policy, as we generate new programs. I think the use of evidence is vital to success, because it comes with an understanding of what has worked, what has not worked, and how we may make adjustments in order to succeed. So we cannot neglect our universities, our think tanks, our various intellectuals, even broader civil society, because out there lie ideas that can be utilized by governments.
Mm-hmm. One of the arguments that's raised about events such as this one, various talk shops around the development of developing countries, is that a lot of policy and a lot of ideas are shared, but they're never really actioned. How do we make this happen?
Well, this is one of the points that I raised today, that our colleagues in the forum must become wary of being satisfied with dialogue. And that they actually need to have as part of their armor, of their work, very carefully considered evaluation of impact. They must monitor what is done with the advice that they provide, with the reports that they hand to leaders. And I even suggested that perhaps they need to demand a little more and not allow just a handing over of a report, but to actually insist on a dialogue between academics and political leaders as a means of transmitting the outcomes of the academic forum.
Would the inception of partnerships, I mean, you spoke about the IMF and the World Bank during your address, more solid partnerships created with these institutions assist in the implementing of policies and ideas that are discussed in these forums?
The idea with respect to global and multilateral institutions is that as BRICS, we need to be very, very clear and cogent about what we want. We are a forum that intends to put on the world stage progressive ideas, and we must use our collaboration to influence the direction of institutions such as IMF, the policies of the World Bank, our presence in the United Nations, the kinds of programs that the UN adopts, and we actually should insist on democratizing that institution that has remained in structure and mechanism largely the same as when it was initiated in 1948. So if BRICS begins to partner in a way that really unites us powerfully on what we bring into the global stage, I think we'll have a collaborative partnership of great influence. I think we've not quite used that power, that potential, as well as we could. And I was arguing here that these issues of IMF, of World Bank, of their impact on our societies, the democratization of the United Nations, which has been an agenda for many, many decades, that these remain as tasks to be addressed. And BRICS stands in a very good position to be a major initiator of change.
All right, and finally, Minister, an important part of having intellectuals form part of decision-making processes in various governments is, of course, the smooth running, if you will, of these institutions. South African universities have been, the University of Zululand in particular, embroiled in allegations of corruption and fraud, and just the department's role in ensuring that these institutions are in optimum operations so that they're able to participate in these conversations and implementations that you speak about?
Well, I think as a department we have an important obligation to support these institutions, all our universities, but in particular those that have the legacy of apartheid really impacting on them. So with respect to the University of Zululand, I have taken a decision that we must initiate a forensic investigation of all the allegations that have been brought to my attention, and the Council of the University of Zululand has been receptive to this. So I've given a directive to the Council that such a process must get underway in partnership with my department, because I believe we cannot accept any corruption or misuse of public resources in any of our institutions. But I've also said to them, consequent upon such investigation, it is my intention that we will initiate measures to provide support to the university to address any inadequacies of program, of management, of administration that has been identified.